At this point, I wanted to give you a little bit of inside information on how to bring the model out of Revit and some other software and get it inside of Lumion. What I did was do a quick internet search for download Lumion Live Sync, and it'll give you options to either download it for Revit, for Archicad, or for SketchUp. And for this series of exercises, I was working in the Revit environment. In fact, that's my primary design software package. So I chose to download Lumion LiveSync for Revit. I ended up finding the link, and then I clicked through and then ended up downloading and installing Lumion LiveSync. Once I did that, I ended up opening up my Revit, and I had a Lumion tab now available to me on the ribbon going across Revit. I have included this version of the model, the same version of the model that you get to work on within the Lumion exercises in with our Chapter 1 exercises. On the ribbon, there's two major portions. One's actually called Live Sync and the other one is called Export. For the exercises that we're doing for this series of steps, I went to export, and then I had the option of exporting it out either via Revit's base point or Revit's survey point. Completely up to you how you go about exporting it out. Personally, I did it by base point. Then you can also export out such things as textures and nodes. I happen to just leave the export nodes on. Textures, this one's important because this will export out the materials that were a part of the original Revit model. And this is how, when I'm viewing the model initially, why certain things have certain materials already applied to them, because those textures were exported out. If I click on export, you can then export it out to the location of your choice. The file that I used was this fourplex housing model.dae. That's exactly what the name of it is here. And what I ended up doing was clicking save. And because I had textures also selected, it exported out an additional textures folder with all those textures from the model located in it. So it would display appropriately inside of the Lumion environment. So that's how you go about getting out your Lumion, or actually your Revit models into Lumion, is by installing this bar. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that with LiveSync, there's also this little Start LiveSync option. And this works much better if you have two monitors, which is why I'm not displaying it right now. But by clicking on Show LiveSync, on one monitor, you could have your Revit open, and on the other monitor, you can have your Lumion open. Then, if you would move a wall, change something inside of the Revit model, add an object, delete an object, that will automatically or sync live inside of your Lumion on the other screen, and have a better idea of what design decisions that you're making and how those design decisions will look in the overall aesthetic of your design model.